What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Premium MMA. My name is Hydro, aka Big Splash, and I'm here to give you my picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Angela Hill. Let's get straight into it. First match of the night, we got Takashi Soto versus Themba Gorimbo. I have Themba in this matchup. I had Takashi at first just because of the UFC experience, because Themba didn't look too good in his UFC debut, and it was kind of a last-minute debut, like he took it on short notice. But he didn't look too bad. He just made a few mistakes. But watching Takashi Sato fight, it's hard to watch. He's getting beat up all the time. He got knocked out by Brian Battle. He got out wrestled by. I literally just watched the match. Damn, I forgot. But he's getting out wrestled, outstruck, and his fighting IQ just doesn't look there. And Themba, I thought the same thing, and then it hit me. I was like, he took this on a week's notice, on a week's short notice. And he didn't look too bad at the beginning of the fight. He just made a couple errors, which was low IQ fighting. But I think here in this matchup, Themba is the better striker, and if it ever hits the ground, Themba's the better grappler. Takashi, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna do so well in the UFC. He might get cut soon because he's not doing well at all, and he hasn't shown me anything he hasn't impressed me at all. So I'm going with Themba Gorimbo getting a win back and looking good in this match. Next up, we got Natalia Silva versus Victoria Leonardo. Victoria Leonardo is a good fighter. She's a good striker. But Natalia Silva is the way better striker in this matchup. And I don't think this match is going to end up on the ground at all. I think it's going to stay standing up. And Natalia here is so dangerous. She puts her opponents away. She knows how to finish girls. And she's a southpaw. She's just a freak striker. Her hands are fast. Her kicks are fast. Her side leading kick is fast. Her spinning kick is fast. And that one knockout she got over this one girl, she did a spinning back kick, and she timed it so well. The girl was going for a takedown. She just spun, bam, kicked her in her face, knocked her out. Natalia, and even in that matchup, she was looking great in the striking. That's why the girl had to go for a takedown, because Natalia was just messing her up. And I believe this is going to happen in this fight too. Natalia can find a knockout finish in this matchup, especially with Victoria. Victoria, she's a good striker. She's decent, but that her striking defense is not good at all. And I think here Natalia Silva is just a better all-around fighter. If it does hit the ground, I think Natalia will be safe. If anything, Natalia will have a dominant position in this matchup. And like I said, in the striking, it's all Natalia. And I am 100% confident in this matchup that Natalia Silva will win this fight. So my pick is Natalia. Next up, we got Chase Hooper versus Nick Fiore. I was going back and forth with these two. Chase Hooper is not that bad of a fighter. He's actually pretty good. It's just, in his last couple fights, he just didn't show up. Nick Fiore, I think he only had one fight in the UFC, and that was, he was debuting with Rebecca, and they're both making their UFC debut. But Nick Fiore did not look bad in that matchup for being I believe he was a plus 500. He was that big of an underdog, and it was scary. Literally, he could have. It was back and forth. That was a close fight between Nick Fiore and Rebecca, and everyone thought Nick Fiore was going to get steamrolled, but no, Nick Fiore was still in the fight. It went to decision, but obviously Rebecca won in the decision. I think it was split decision too. It was a pretty good close fight. But in this matchup, the only thing is I'm scared with Nick Fiore is Chase Hooper's jiu-jitsu. Chase is so good on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is so slick. But that's all Chase has. Chase striking isn't that good. I think Nick Fiore's striking is better than Chase Hooper's. The only reason why it looks like Nick Fiore's stats look like this in the striking was because that debut with Rebecca, it was crazy. Rebecca is such a relentless fighter, and he just comes at you just balls blazing. He was on a 9 knockout streak, but wasn't able to knock out Fiore. It went to decision, so that's why I think Nick Fiore is tougher. I think Nick Fiore is the better stand-up fighter in this matchup. I'm not too sure how the jiu-jitsu is and how it will compare to Chase Hooper's, but I don't think this is going to end up on the ground. If it does, I believe Nick Fiore will just know how to keep a dominant position and not trying to, find a submission. If anything, get back up to the feet so Nick Fiore could just keep piecing up Chase Hooper. But I do have Nick Fiore in this matchup. Next up, we got Ilir Latifi versus Rodrigo Nascimento. I got Rodrigo Nascimento all the way in this matchup. I usually don't bet on heavyweight fights, and heavyweight fights are iffy to me. But Rodrigo is so tough, and he's a really good striker. He's a really good striker. I like his striking game. He uses his 1-2. He uses his jab really well, and hits hard as well. If he lands, you're done. You're wobbling, blazed. You're dazed. And Rodrigo's jiu-jitsu game is also slick as well. And Latifi, on the other hand, is a straight wrestler. Latifi has no stand-up game, no striking. He doesn't even use his striking to set up his takedowns. He just shoots straight for takedowns. And that'll be a big problem for Latifi, especially Rodrigo being a jiu-jitsu artist. And Rodrigo can wrestle too. He knows how to take you down as well. And he knows how to defend takedowns. And if it does get to the ground, Rodrigo is a slick heavyweight jiu-jitsu guy. So this is a dangerous matchup for Latifi. I believe Latifi is going to be a underdog in this matchup, and Rodrigo, I don't know how big. If it's vice versa, if Rodrigo is the underdog, I'll put so much money on Rodrigo. Rodrigo is a good heavyweight fighter, and he moves pretty lightly as a heavyweight fighter. And like I said, his ground game is amazing. It's nice. So here in this matchup, I think he will be able to defend Latifi's takedowns, and if not, I think he can reverse positions on Latifi and then just wear on Latifi and ground and pound him. But other than that, I believe Rodrigo's going to try to keep this fight on the feet here and just outstrike Latifi. But I believe Rodrigo can win this fight in any way he wants to. So my pick here for this match is Rodrigo Nascimento. Next up, we got Orion versus Gilbert Urbina. Well, this one was an iffy one to pick for me too. Both great fighters, but Orion, I believe he has just this much more fighting IQ and just that much better at fighting. Because Gilbert, watching it wasn't really a debut. This is going to be his UFC debut. But in that tough finals against him and Brian Battle isn't that good on the ground. But Brian Battle was fucking Gilbert up on the ground. And Gilbert was making so many mistakes. Even the commentators were like, oh, that's a mistake. Oh, he should have done that, this and that, a couple times. So that's why I think Orion here, having UFC experience and just being the more experienced fighter and having better IQ, I think he can get it done with Gilbert. I believe Gilbert here is the better striker, but Orion, he could take this to the ground and then just either have better jiu-jitsu than him or just have that control time. But I do think Orion Kosecki will win this fight. Just having that UFC experience. Next, we got kowalkiewicz versus Vanessa demopoulos. I just butchered the hell out of their names, but look at their names. You can't blame me for that. But these are two decent women fighters. Vanessa has impressed me in her fights. She got knocked down by Gomez, literally straight up. Gomez just overhand right, boom. Landed so clean on Vanessa. Vanessa got knocked down, dazed. But when Gomez tried to stack on Vanessa and ground and pound her, Vanessa somehow found the arm bar and finished Gomez. That was crazy. That impressed me a lot. Vanessa is tough. She's a tough girl. And yeah, this was a hard match for me to pick too, because Karolina, she's tough too. And she has good striking, and she's really good on the ground. Karolina has more submission wins than Vanessa. And I honestly believe Karolina is the better all-around mixed martial artist in this matchup. But Vanessa is so tough. You cannot count her out. She is tough. Yeah, y'all, this was a hard one for me to choose, but I'm going to go for Karolina. Just because I believe Karolina's striking is better. So if it is on the feet, Karolina is going to piece up Vanessa. If it does hit the ground, I think Karolina's jiu-jitsu is better than Vanessa's. But Vanessa's wrestling is better than Karolina's. Vanessa, if she wants to get a takedown on Karolina, she could get it. Karolina's takedown defense is not that good, but Karolina's scrambling is on point. So that means, if Vanessa does get the takedown, is on top of Karolina, she'll just reverse that in a second, boom. And then she'll just end up on Vanessa's back and try to get and just control her like that. And I believe if it does stay on the feet, Karolina wins in the feet. So I got Kowalkiewicz in this matchup. Next up, we got hayisaer maheshate versus vaicheslav borshchev. That's the best I'm going to say his name. This is going to be an exciting fight. Maheshate is a very young prospect in the lightweight division. I believe he's only 23. Vaicheslav, he's 31, so he's still pretty young and hungry. But I do believe Maheshate is the better all-around fighter in this matchup. He's the better striker. He's good at striking. I don't know what's up with this accuracy being 25% because he just won his last fight by knockout. And he's still young, but I do believe that he's finding holes in his games and he's just fixing them. Especially, I think he did have a loss over Rafa Garcia. That's Rafa Garcia. And he went the 3 rounds with Rafa Garcia. And Rafa Garcia is good. He could put you away. He's just a good striker, good grappler. And Maheshate, I think he just needed a little bit more experience before fighting someone like Rafa Garcia. But I do believe Maheshate could get it done against Vaicheslav. Vaicheslav, he's a good, decent fighter. He's more of a defensive fighter. That's what I don't like about Vaicheslav. He's easy to get backed into the fence, and he's easy to get taken down. And every footage I've seen of him, he's just not looked good. He looks like he's just tired, and in the later rounds, he slows down. Just Vaicheslav just hasn't impressed me, and his all-around fighting is just straight defensive. Like, he doesn't... He tries to throw counters a lot, but him just doing that gets him pieced up. So that's why I got Maheshate putting the pressure on Vaicheslav and finding the knockout. Honestly, I think Maheshate is going to knock out Vaicheslav in this matchup. So I got Maheshate all the way. Next up, we got Diego Ferreira versus Michael Johnson. This is going to be a great veterans matchup in the lightweight division. Michael Johnson, he's been in the UFC. He's been in the game for years. I'm talking about a decade. And he's been fucking shit up. I mean, he has taken a few losses lately, but that's just because this is newer competition and everyone's just, it's just, y'all know what I'm trying to say. But Michael Johnson still has it in him, and he's still a good fighter. He goes the distance with these monsters, with the top 5, top 10. He goes the distance with them, and if he loses, yeah, it's in the distance. He doesn't get finished. So yeah, Michael Johnson is a dog, and especially in this matchup. Diego Ferreira, on the other hand, he's a great fighter too. He's good on the feet. He knows how to counter. And this is a really close matchup. What it really is now what it comes down to is an orthodox versus a southpaw fighter. And me, I like the southpaw fighters. I feel like they all got the better hands and just better stand-up. So that's why I'm going with Michael Johnson. And Michael Johnson does have more UFC experience and has fought better competition than Diego. So I believe Michael Johnson here can get it done in the decision. Because Diego Ferreira is a dog too. If it hits the ground, Diego Ferreira is a scrambler. He doesn't like being on the ground, bro. He does everything he can to either scramble to get the dominant position or to get back to his feet and just strike with you. He's not afraid to get hit in the face neither. He's just a dog. And when he is striking with you, he's a Tasmanian devil. He just swings, and even if he's getting hit, he's still swinging on you, and he hits hard. But here, Michael Johnson, I believe Michael Johnson will be the more technical striker, and I do believe this fight will stay on the feet. It will stay on the feet and if Diego does decide to try to take this to the ground, Michael Johnson, he's a jiu-jitsu artist as well. I believe he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he will survive on the ground with Diego. But Diego is just something serious. He's nothing to play with. He's 38 years old, but he can hang with all these younger guys still as well. But I do have Michael Johnson being the better all-around fighter and just more technical fighter in this matchup. So my pick is Michael Johnson. Next up, we got Andre Failho versus Joaquin Buckley. I think this is a nice match for Joaquin to get a win back. He's been losing lately, I know, but I am picking him. And when he in his other fights, I did not choose him. I knew he was going to lose those other fights against those other guys. But I believe this is a great match for Joaquin Buckley to get a win back. Andre Failho, he's a good striker. He's good on the ground. He's very technical. He thinks a lot, which is kind of a bad thing. He's trying to be a little bit too technical, where Joaquin, on the other hand, is just going to be swinging, just throwing, he's literally going to be fighting. And Andre, when you put that pressure on Andre tends to give up. In all his UFC fights, he's lost. And he was pressured against the fence, and then they're just throwing bombs at Andre, and Andre was just curling up, just giving up, and ref had to stop everything in all his fights. And it was in the later rounds, I'll say like end the second round and then the third round. And in this matchup, I just believe Joaquin Buckley is the better striker will be the more durable fighter, more tougher fighter, the more faster fighter. And I just believe Jaquan Buckley could get it done in this matchup. And I like how the UFC set this one up for Jaquan Buckley to get a win back, because he needs a win back. He was the hype. I think in 2020 or 2021 he got that knockout of the year when that dude caught his leg and then he just jumped up and kicked him in the face. Like, Jaquan Buckley is good. He's a good fighter. He almost puts out his opponents before he gets put out, but he's just so crazy and just goes out there and he just don't care. But that's what I like about Jaquan. He's a fighter. He'll fight anybody and he'll brawl with you. And that's why I believe he will win this fight, because Andre won't want that pressure. He won't want to fight with Jaquan like that. But Jaquan's going to just keep putting that pressure on him and win the fight, either in TKO in the later rounds or in decision. So I got Jaquan Buckley in this matchup. Next up, we got Emily Ducote versus Lupita Loopy Gomez. I'm going with Loopy all the way. She's one of my favorite women fighter, especially in the strawweight division. She is so good, so technical. Her ground game is magnificent. She knows how to wrestle. Her stand-up is really nice. I believe her stand-up stats should be better than this, just by the way she be out there fighting. And I do believe she will get it done here against Emily Ducote. And I think Loopy's going to wrestle Emily, to be honest. Not that she's scared of Emily striking, because Emily is a good striker, but Loopy, she just wants to get this fight just done with out the way. She wants to finish these girls. Even though she does go the distance a lot, it looks like she tries to get the finish. So I do believe she's going to get the takedowns on Emily and just grind her out each round. So yeah, my pick here is Loopy Godinez. Next up, we got Edmen Shabanzian versus Anthony Hernandez. This was a really hard one to choose for me. I was literally watching these two guys' footage like back and forth for the past week, last week. And it was just so hard because they're both great fighters. Edmen, he's so technical. He's just a great all-around fighter. His striking is decent, is nice. And also his ground game is not too bad neither. But I'm going with Anthony Hernandez. And just watching those footage and just watching it just over and over and over again, to me, Anthony Hernandez looks like the all-around better fighter. Anthony Hernandez, he'll strike with you. Only thing is with Anthony, he is hittable. He is hittable in the striking, but he also, I believe he has a chin, because while he like I said, he's one of those guys. While he's getting hit, he's throwing them punches back and hitting you even more and harder. And I think Anthony Hernandez is the tougher fighter in this matchup, the better all-around fighter. Even Anthony Hernandez has a wrestling game. His wrestling game is really, really nice. Even DC would say it in most of his fights while commentating, that Anthony Hernandez has relentless wrestling and it's really nice, and he could get takedowns on you. Look, he almost averages 7 takedowns a fight. So I believe here that he's gonna wear on Edmen, take him down, have dominant position, better position, whole fight, and either get the finish by TKO or in decision, but in the later rounds. And the only thing is, and what really made me go with Anthony Hernandez and not Edmen was because Edmen lost to Nasruddin Imavov pretty badly. How you gonna lose to Imavov? Yeah, he's a good fighter, but no, Edmen, no. We going with Anthony Hernandez in this matchup, just being the better striker, better grappler, and just better wrestler, better all-around fighter. And I do believe people are asleep on Anthony Hernandez, and I think Anthony might be the underdog in this matchup. I haven't looked at odds. I don't look at odds when I'm picking fighters. So I hope Anthony Hernandez is an underdog in this matchup, just so I could throw hella money on him and he could be my underdog of the week. Because I do think he could get it done. He could get it done against Edmen Shabanzian. Because Edmen is a great fighter too, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was the favorite in this matchup. He is so good. He's in the top 10, and I think Anthony Hernandez is trying to fight Edmen to be in the top 10. So I think Anthony Hernandez could do it. Anthony Hernandez could sneak his way into that top 10. So my pick here in this matchup is Anthony Hernandez. Next up, we got the main event, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. I'm actually excited for this fight. Angela Hill is a great fighter, a great striker. So is Mackenzie Dern. But Mackenzie Dern, she's more better on the ground. So I believe this is more of a striker versus jiu-jitsu. Because Mackenzie Dern doesn't get takedowns. Only way it's going to get to the ground is if someone trips. If Angela tries to get it to the ground and Mackenzie reverses it. Because Mackenzie's ground game and her scrambling game is so out of this world. She is so good on the ground. It's just her striking has to get better. If her striking got better, she could be champ. She could be champ in the strawweight division. But with that being said, I got Mackenzie Dern in this matchup. Angela Hill is a great fighter, but I just believe she's getting older. She's getting up there. Even though she is getting older, she still got hands. That's the only thing I'm scared of in this matchup is her hands. She got fast hands, and her accuracy is good. She knows how to connect with them hands. And her defense, she keeps her guard up. She's one of the one female fighters that keep her guard up and knows how to throw her hands. But I believe Mackenzie Dern here will just clinch onto Angela, keep her on the fence, find trips, probably take it to the ground, and grind it out in a 5-round fight and win a decision. So my pick here is Mackenzie Dern. So that is it for my picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If y'all agree with me or enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.